Sam Presti and the OKC Thunder front office have done it again, landing a couple of steals out of the 2023 NBA draft in 6'4" guard Cason Wallace out of Kentucky at number 10 overall, and 6'5" wing Keyontae Johnson from Kansas State in the second round. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a Thunder fan, because if you actually follow the channel, you might remember that about a month ago, I put up my OKC draft board video wherein I actually had Cason Wallace as the top guy on my board if OKC stayed towards the end of the lottery. And right now, it just really feels good to know that the front office was just as high on Wallace as I was, to the point that they traded up 2 spots with Dallas just to acquire him. Well, the thing is, during this entire pre-draft process, Cason was often put into a box and labeled as mostly a defense-first point guard with marginal offensive impact. But to me, there's just more to his game, and I believe there are really a lot of avenues for him to be a star-level player in the NBA. Same goes for Keyontae Johnson. He's been known and he's been mostly talked about for his incredible comeback story as a college player, but more than that, with the level of his talent, I think he could really end up as the biggest steal of this entire draft class after being drafted 50th overall. So what's good everyone, it's Real Balls here, and in this video, I'll do a deep dive on the games of both Cason Wallace and Keyontae Johnson to show why these two guys are immediately going to help this young OKC Thunder team in terms of getting back to NBA championship contention. So let's get to it. Obviously, it's going to be on the defensive end wherein Cason Wallace's impact will be most apparent for OKC right from the get-go. Well, sure, Cason is the best point-of-attack defender from this draft class, but rather than calling him just a defensive stopper, I actually prefer to call him more of a defensive playmaker, cause he's just a guy who knows how to disrupt the flow of the opposing team by just making the right defensive reads from anywhere on the floor. Well, he only stands 6'4", but Cason knows how to utilize his 6'8" wingspan together with his deadly combination of super quick hands, mobile feet, strong body, and high defensive IQ to pretty much do anything as a defender. This past season, he averaged 2 steals per game and 0.5 blocks per game in Kentucky, which might not seem over the top, but looking into the more advanced numbers, he actually produced a 3.7% steal rate and a 1.6% block rate, which is actually very rare. In fact, over the past 8 years, Cason became only the 3rd college player standing 6'5" and below, alongside Alex Caruso and Davion Mitchell, to put up at least a 3.5% steal rate and a 1.5% block rate in the same season. Overall, Cason is just really a terror on the defensive end, both on and off the ball. Watching his film, you can see him either poking the ball out of sloppy ball handlers, soaring for blocks in transition, and just being physical as a defender, which just makes him a perfect fit in this OKC team that loves to switch everything on defense. Here, you can see Keyontae Johnson trying to create something off the pick and roll, and off the screen, you can see Cason about to get switched to him, and just as Keyontae is about to make a move, Cason just reaches out for the ball and ends up with a steal. Then here, as Kobe Buffkin grabs the rebound and starts the transition play, you can see Cason trailing him, but watch how Cason turns up the jets, speeding up while moving laterally until he catches Buffkin with the perfectly timed block under the rim. Then in this play, you can see Cason defending the elbow pick and roll. The ball handler does a good job of forcing Cason into a switch to the roll man, but as the lob pass is made, Cason jumps as high as he could as he eventually stops the potential dunk. Because of those kinds of plays, despite him only being 6'4", I'm actually confident that Cason would be able to situationally switch against bigger players in the NBA, which is something that OKC actually loves to do on defense. But for the record, while he projects to enter the NBA already as a plus defender, to me, Cason's arrival doesn't mean that he's going to replace Dort as the team's main point-of-attack defender. I think that role should still belong to Dort unless proven otherwise. And if anything, I'm actually excited to see both Cason and Dort together on the floor, just creating pure chaos on the defensive end. But overall, I expect Cason to immediately slide in as a lead point-of-attack defender for OKC's second unit, while also playing valuable minutes with the starters, especially when Dort sits on the bench. But aside from what he brings on defense, there's definitely value in playing Cason alongside OKC starters because of his scoring. Right away, you can play him alongside Shai and Josh Giddey, and they could easily rely on him to produce out of spot-up looks from the perimeter. Cason is actually a good 3-point shooter who shot 35% on spot-up 3-point attempts in college, including a highly efficient 41.9% mark on spot-up 3-pointers before he suffered a minor back injury in January, which seemed to limit his elevation acceleration and movement as a shooter towards the end of the season. But now with him fully healthy and with the wider spacing of the NBA floor, I think we can expect Cason to be much more effective off the catch in OKC. But the thing is, even if you put the ball in his hands and ask him to create his own shot, he would also definitely be able to do so. And I think the best part of Cason's shot making is his ability to pressure the rim. Well, it's really fascinating to me that he got to the basket so easily in college despite not having the flashiest handle and despite Kentucky not having good floor spacing. And for sure, Cason might need to add speed once he gets to the NBA, but right now, he's already got sneaky burst and he's already able to use simple hesitation dribbles and in and out crossovers to create space before he deploys his strength and touch to finish at the basket effectively. In fact, he actually shot almost 53% at the rim in half-court situations in college, which is the second best mark among all guards selected in the lottery, only behind Scoot Henderson. Here, you can see how Cason breaks his man down in space. He uses a quick in and out cross to the left, and as he drives, he takes off the wrong foot to be able to protect the ball as he makes the tough and one. Then in this play, as soon as the ball screen arrives, Cason just blows by his man. Just watch him take off and transfer the ball to his right hand mid-air as he finishes the tough shot even against contact. Well, sure, quicker NBA defenders would prevent him from getting to the rim early on, but the good thing is, Cason already has developed counters with his ability to manufacture a variety of jumpers off the dribble. And the thing that I really like about his perimeter game is that Cason's able to get into his spots even with just a couple of dribbles. He simply does a great job in terms of reacting to defenses, especially out of ball screens, and from there, he's able to get into his shot without any problem. Well, sure, he's only a 34% pull-up shooter from deep, but almost 75% of his pull-up attempts came from the mid-range, and from there, he's actually been solid. Cason's 44.8% mark on pull-up mid-range jumpers is actually much better than what Scoot Henderson and Amen Thompson produced from that area. Overall, Cason's efficiency as a 3-level scorer gives him a really bright outlook in terms of what he can become in OKC. But really, even without asking him to score, he should still at the very least contribute right away as a stable lead playmaker for the second unit. While Cason's definitely not a Josh Giddey type phenomenal passer, but he's already well versed as a playmaker in the pick and roll as well as in transition. He's someone who makes the right reads and makes quick decisions, but most importantly, he takes good care of the ball. In college, he averaged 4.3 assists as opposed to just 2.1 turnovers per game, which is definitely a solid ratio for a heavy usage point guard like him. Overall, his combination of size, 3-level scoring, reliable playmaking, and elite defense actually reminds me of someone like Jrue Holiday. And with Cason being given the chance to develop with this young Thunder team, I think he could really become a high-caliber starter or even a star-level player in the future. But moving on, if Cason's mostly known for his defense, it's the other way around for Keyontae Johnson, who was selected by OKC 50th overall. As a senior player for Kansas State, he averaged more than 17 points and almost 8 rebounds per game on solid 51, 40, and 71% shooting splits. But beyond the raw numbers, Keyontae just really stands out to me as one of the most unique wing players in all of college basketball last season, in the sense that he's a knockdown 3-point shooter, but he's also got elite bounce and real NBA lob threat potential. Looking at it, he was the only college player below 6'7" last season to shoot at least 40% from deep while also shooting at least 64% at the rim. Well, first of all, right away in OKC, he would be able to step in as an outside shooting threat off the bench because of his knockdown shooting ability, especially off the catch. Almost 25% of his shot attempts last season came from the 3-point line, and Keyontae actually shot a highly efficient 40.5% from deep, including an over-the-top 45% out of catch-and-shoot 3-point attempts on pretty good volume as well. But aside from that, because of his solid handle, advanced playmaking skills, and quick decision-making with the ball, I think we can also expect him to function as a secondary playmaker for OKC when needed. In fact, in Kansas State, he actually put up a 13.5 assist percentage, which ranked in the 82nd percentile among all forwards in all of college basketball last season. But still, my favorite part of his offense right now has got to be how he uses his combination combination of strength and speed at his size to be able to exploit mismatches as a shot creator. Keyontae is so unique in the sense that at 6'5" and 240 pounds, he's still quicker than a lot of guards and wings, but his strength is also at par with most power forwards and centers. Combine that versatility with his natural shooting touch, and you could just see how he's able to get buckets in a variety of ways. Here in isolation, you can see how Keyontae gets to the basket. The crossover sets up his attack as he bullies his way into the lane before he explodes off 2 feet and finishes against contact. This time, he sets up his man with the jab, and as he drives, watch Keyontae just pull back and create space as he hits the tough step-back jumper. Then in this play, Marquise Noel sets up Keyontae on the post, and you can just see how he backs down and bulldozes his man out of the way before finishing the easy floater. Overall, Keyontae ranked in the 60th percentile in terms of isolation scoring in all of college basketball last season, which is a very promising indication in terms of his development as a scorer at the next level. And while he won't be asked to create those kinds of shots in OKC at least early on, aside from becoming an outside shooting threat, I think another area wherein he can immediately contribute is as a cutter and as a play finisher at the basket. He would just be a really great fit alongside OKC's plethora of ball handlers just by using his athleticism, bounce, and high feel for the game as he cuts into open driving lanes and catches lobs at the rim. In terms of points per possession out of cuts to the basket, he actually ranked in the 78th percentile of college basketball last season, all while shooting an incredible 64% at the rim, which is superb, especially for a 6'5" guy. Well, his offensive game already makes him a tailor-made fit for OKC's current offensive system, but I think there's also a lot of promise on the defensive end as well. For sure, Keyontae's not yet a lockdown defender, and he's not gonna stop explosive guards and wings. But as is displayed in college, his size for his position still creates problems even for opposing teams' #1 options. Right here, you can see him guarding Keyontae George in isolation. Just watch how he turns his hip and how he uses his wide frame to keep George in check, up until he eventually rises up just at the right time to get the block. Then here, you can see him guarding the bigger Jalen Wilson on the post. Keyontae's size and frame just proves to be too much, as Wilson is forced to take a highly contested look outside of the paint. In OKC, Keyontae wouldn't be asked to be a defensive stopper, but with a 7-foot wingspan and all the toughness he brings, I'm confident that he should still fit into OKC's defensive identity as a switchable and multi-positional defender. Well, as talented as he is, Keyontae will definitely occupy a bench role for the team early on, but with his shooting, 3-level scoring, and workable defense, I really think there's a realistic path for him to be a starting caliber NBA wing in the near future. So what do you guys think of OKC's 2023 NBA draft selections? Feel free to drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure to hit that like button if you did enjoy this video, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing as well. Again, this is Real Balls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.